I'm Olly Hall-Green, and I'm the founder and host of Shapes of Resilience. In this podcast, we explore the raw, unfiltered stories of those who refused to give up, turning adversity into strength, setbacks into lessons, and pain into purpose. Through these inspiring stories, we can learn and find resilience in our own lives every single day, because true growth isn't found in comfort. This podcast discusses sensitive topics including trauma, suicide, loss, mental health, and illnesses. Some conversations may be distressing, so please take care whilst listening. And there we go. So as per usual with the podcast, there's been some technical issues that we've overcome and conquered, which has involved setting up in a studio, realising the Wi-Fi didn't work, so jumping indoors, and to facilitate us being indoors, the dogs had to go to the studio. Sad times for the dog.
She looks happy though, so I think she's happier up there.
Yeah. So today I'm joined by none other than Mr. Gary Waters himself.
Hello.
Which seems ironic to be sat here now with Gary 2 years after this journey started for me, because this journey started sat across from Gary. Wow, 2 years later, here we are. So I'm going to introduce Gary and I'm going to go straight into it. So Gary is a lifelong friend. We've been friends for many decades now. We were best friends through our 20s, parted ways through the 30s, which is the gap that I'm intrigued to learn more around. Where did you go for your 30s? And now we've reconnected around 2 years ago, and it's stronger than ever. So Gary is a local lad. He is someone that has been on a clear path, inspires so many people. He's an entrepreneur. He is a former hotel owner. He's now a mindset coach, a life coach, a healer, someone that holds spaces for people to go as deep as they possibly can to find the answers for themselves. He's doing some great things. He's traveling the globe, following, pursuing, and achieving his dreams. So today we're going to uncover the story behind Gary and everything that he's learned, in the hope that some of that wisdom can get passed on to the listeners today.
Sounds amazing. Let's do it.
Let's do it. So let's start with the 20s. When I knew you, because that's, from a friendship point of view, my area of expertise, where I feel like I knew Gary, but maybe I only knew the version of Gary that was surface level and the Gary that was being portrayed to the world. But as I've later discovered, you weren't maybe as happy as I and others perceived. So what was going on through your 20s, mate?
Well, obviously 20s is where we spent a lot of time together, playing many a game of FIFA.
Badly. We were like the worst ever. The runts.
We thought we were great though. But
we were nothing compared to Big Z.
No, I loved it. He's just got a mention in it. But
yeah, it was often like, how many goals can I just soften the deficit? Because it was like 7-8-0 mostly.
Yeah. Always fun though to see how angry you got in those moments.
Yeah.
So,
it was like, we're not allowed to talk now, are we? No. Should we go? Yes.
Let's go now. Yeah. I mean, we go way back, right? In so much like partying in Torquay, nights out. But yeah, as you said, people were seeing like a facade that I was holding up. I didn't even really know I was doing it, but I was doing all that I could to be perfect. And that is an exhausting proposition, right? But it was founded actually when I was a lot younger. So in my kind of early teens, around 11 or 12, I was living in Germany. And that was this beautiful moment that I can now call beautiful. At the time, didn't feel that way. But it's where I really experienced for the first time where I, for myself, just didn't feel good enough. And I didn't feel particularly wanted. And this was in the arena of school. I was always loved and adored by my family. But when it came to school, there was a lot of challenges, a lot of bullying. And it's in that moment that I decided for myself that I just wasn't enough. But of course, I didn't consciously make that choice. Those are what I call these subconscious codes that drive us in a really silent way, where they drive our thoughts, our feelings, our actions, and the results that we get. So that started up a journey, a lifetime of looking to perfect what was not enough, to try and overcome that, to try and be successful. or what the world determines as successful. And so I was pushing hard in business, trying to have the right girl on my side, the business to number one, have all of the cash, the cars. I think you drove or was with me in some of them, just trying to fit that perfect lifestyle. And it was in my late 20s where I hit rock bottom. I was just exhausted.
Yeah, and I remember that period well, because we were spending a lot of time together, and then your family took on the hotel, and you were the driving force, the front of house, the guy like doing the long hours. And not only that, you were training. You were training all the time you weren't in the hotel, you were at the gym, which again was another area maybe where you were doing too much. Absolutely. Because we all know the optimal workout is like 45 minutes to an hour, and you were doing like 2 hours, 2.5 hours in the gym every day.
Exactly.
So you were doing a lot. You were doing, everything the opposite of what you now know to be the way you need to like choose to live your life. But especially the hotel hours was something that meant that instantly you were no longer particularly accessible, because there's only so many times where you reach out and say, Gary, do you want to go and do this? Gary, do you want to do that? And it was quite clear that the hotel was your life. So how many hours were you doing a day?
Probably about 16, 17, and then obviously hitting the gym for about 2.5, sometimes 3 hours, right? And then it was rinse and repeat, from kind of March to November. There's no day off.
Do you remember how your sleep was?
I was getting by probably on like about 4 or 5 hours.
I just disrupted as well. Like you'd wake up, I'm going to go and do this, because you're at the hotel. Yeah. It's just so easy to just go and do something that was, I need to get that done now.
Yeah, well, you're never fully relaxed, because if you're kind of running your own hotel, like all the bells are kind of tethered to you, whether the front doorbell goes in the middle of the night, somebody's locked themselves out, or reception bell goes, someone's gone on a sleepwalk or something like that. But there was always this kind of vigilance, like this constantly walking on eggshells, not sure when the next bell was going to go. So
get the impression as well, just from knowing you probably over delivered constantly. You always wanted your guests to give good reviews and feel like they've had a good experience. But again, was that something that was at your detriment?
Absolutely. Yeah. So it's all like a compensation, right? Even in the business, that was just one aspect of my life. But it was like, if the business is number one, if it's the best, well, then I'm good enough. And then the gym as well, that's another component. It's like, if my body's shredded and it's good enough, well, then people like me, they'll love me, they'll accept me.
And the thought of a bad review from a hotel guest, how did that make you feel? Like even just the thought of getting a bad review from someone?
Yeah, it was, it was really scary, because fundamentally it not only impacted my worth, but also livelihood.
It took you straight back to the feelings of your childhood. Any kind of criticism, whether it's directed at you, your business, or anything you're doing, I imagine the way it was then, it could easily just send you all the way back.
Yeah, so these kind of deeper wounds that we don't heal, because we don't know about them, right? We have like a sense of feeling of them, but because we've not been able to put like words to that feeling, we're just trying to constantly overcome them. So yeah, as soon as there was some form of inadequacy, my system is perceiving that as a death threat, right? It's like defend, overcome, avoid. So yeah, in whatever arena, if it looked to be impacting my identity, my ego, we could say, if people know that word, right? They're kind of interlinked. Then that was at the deepest level being treated as that death threat, but really it was just a threat to my persona.
And how much of that was based on lies you were telling yourself?
It's all lies.
So you mentioned the word ego. Let's go a little bit further into that, just so that the listeners can gauge on what the word ego means to you, because it kind of is something that shows up very differently for many people, and lots of experts will have a slightly different explanation of what the word ego means. So in your own words.
Yeah. Well, yeah, you're right. Depending on who you listen to, whether it's like a personal development coach or like a spiritual teacher, they might have a slight different variation in their language around the ego. For me, it's the identity, this persona that we show to the world, who we think we are. And I'm kind of emphasizing the think that we are, right? Because for many years, I was in the world of personal development. And now I make the joke, I'm in the world of personal undevelopment. Right?
Nice.
I'm kind of getting rid of the identity, which can be quite confronting for people initially. But so the ego is, in essence, code, right? It is programming. Because when we cruise into this dimension called Earth, we don't know who we are. We're given a label. And then the journey of suffering truly begins, of trying to craft an identity to belong, to be wanted, to be accepted, to be loved. So ego for me is the false self. It's who we identify as. It's the persona, the identity, but also the body. That's just a different density of identity, we could say.
When's the last time you felt your ego creep in?
The other day. Yeah, I was actually just talking to you about this in the garden, so that's quite fun. So we were selling our apartment to buy a new home, with Becca being pregnant. So we're excited about
Congratulations.
that. Thank you very much. It's always amazing when you get a congratulations. You're like, my part in this was quite small. There wasn't much time involved. She's doing all the hard work.
Yeah.
Right. So thank you anyway. But that fell through at the last minute. And for anyone that's listening abroad in the UK, no money gets exchanged until kind of exchange and completion, really. So yes, that was a little bit disappointing. My little ego didn't want it that way. And whenever we don't want it that way, we create resistance. And so I allowed my humanity, my little ego, and I just worked through that in the way that I always help people with. And that quickly passed. But yeah, that would be the latest or the most recent time.
How did that show up? As a feeling of, this isn't fair?
Yeah, it would, to be honest, it was just, more kind of, if I was to really inspect the code, it's like, this shouldn't be this way. Probably with a little bit of, this is unfair.
Annoying.
Right? Yeah, fundamentally frustration, but really it's the key codes are, I'm in resistance to what is, right? The circumstance is, and now I've got resistance to it, which is called a problem.
And then how quickly did you move into a state of, I'm quite actually enjoying this now, because this gives me an opportunity to understand why those emotions have surfaced, and how quickly can the Gary of today move through and come back to where I was?
Yeah, to be honest, I've had a lot of practice.
You're the master.
I wouldn't say that. I've had good training. But for me, it's quite quick now. But it doesn't mean that, a couple hours later, I can't have that thought again and slide back into it. I think one of the most powerful things I could ever share with anyone is through authenticity, that I've still got my human component, right? As I speak into personal development, it goes into a deeper conversation, right? But it's just like, I embrace my humanity. It's like, it's okay. But it's like, where do you live? Where do you hang out? And I can hang out in ego, but I live more at what we could say this deeper part of us. Some people might call it soul. Some might call it the absolute, infinite intelligence, the universe, consciousness, whatever, right? But there is, when we start to inspect a deeper part of us, right? So the speed back to that deeper part of me has got quicker and quicker over time, as I've started to see the lies basically arise on the surface of my mind.
So another thing we did throughout our 20s was boxing.
Yeah.
Which people might not put you as someone that enjoyed punching or being punched in the face.
Mainly got punched by you, and you've got quite a strong punch on you.
Well, I'm a man of peace now, but
okay.
Yeah, so we used to travel most Saturday mornings across the Brixton to a little derelict building and just punch each other. So what was all that about? Why the boxing? What drew you to that, and what's the story behind why you stepped foot into a boxing gym for the first time?
Good question. I think it was all interlinked with wanting to look tough, or to be able to protect myself. That was a secondary component. Mainly it was to look good, to be able to go out and feel more confident. That I'd say was the driving force, but it was still in that arena of wanting to look good. So that was what was driving that. It wasn't really the love of the sport, especially getting punched in the face by Olly Hall-Green.
And that was, and we used to box at the Apollo, and there were some serious boxers there.
Yeah.
And I experienced that myself, those emotions, especially towards the beginning, where you are being properly put in your place and learning the hard way. And you have those immense feelings of frustration and not being anywhere near as good as the other lads you're boxing with. So is that again something you experienced whilst boxing?
Yeah, quite heavily during boxing. My inadequacy was brought beautifully to the surface.
There's nowhere to hide.
No.
Literally nowhere to hide.
Yeah.
But I enjoyed it. I enjoyed those feelings and stuck with it and saw the benefits of that. And you travelled up actually to support me in my only victory as a boxer.
Well, there we go. You just need to be more in the corner.
Yeah, up in Barnstable. And I think you recorded it. I remember hearing it. The only voice I could hear, apart from Paul and a few others, was you cheering me on. And it made such a difference. It also made a difference that the lad I was boxing wasn't actually wearing proper boxing shoes. So I thought, I'm going to win this one.
Imagine if you didn't. Yeah.
No.
I'm pleased that you did.
Yeah, but again, it's very similar for me. The reasons behind boxing and training at the time, it's feeling there's something lacking.
Yeah.
I think that's probably quite common for everyone that starts a sport like boxing or martial arts, is because they want to feel more equipped to look after themselves, especially in this day and age.
Yeah. Well, we're talking about ego before, for anyone listening that doesn't really know that term, more identity. When you start to understand the structure of it, it's founded in inadequacy, in some form of lack and fear at its core, right? So everybody has those, we could say, 3 buckets going on in their identity, but they don't know. So, I'm blessed to work with some incredible athletes, and to the most part, sadly, they're moving from the energy of fear and not freedom. And depending on which energy of those two you're moving from, you're going to have a totally different experience, right? So for me, with boxing, it wasn't out of freedom that I was going to get punched in the face. It was, well, fear and a bit more fear, right? But it was just like, because I was trying to prove something, I was trying to overcome something, I was trying to be something. But fundamentally, all that does is reinforce that I'm not something. So
and you can translate that into a lot of things, if not everything, because the feeling of putting your gloves on and standing across the ring from someone you know is a far more skilled, stronger, bigger person and boxer than you. It's that emotion is, I've got to face this. It's not going to be nice. I'm not going to win, but I'm still in the fight. Like, how many people live their life in that way, where they take on challenges that they could easily just take their gloves off and step out, like, get out the ring, get out the fight. There's not a fight you're going to win. So why bother?
Yeah. And sadly, like myself being the prime example, I was always fighting life, resisting life, trying to control life. And that was the exhaustion that led to the burnout that, to be honest, got so bad, like I just wanted to leave the world.
And how long did that process take for you to get from quite bad to those exact emotions you talked about there?
So from the exhaustion to like the lowest of the lows.
Yeah.
To be honest, I think that was hanging around from childhood. I, like I said, beautiful family, loved unconditionally. But when you're going to school and you are by yourself, being isolated is one of the worst experiences for a human being. So, even at 11, 12, there was suicidal ideation for me because I just felt so sad. It just felt so lonely. So for me to kind of try and perfect myself, to then start to actually hit those goals, because I was quite good at the doingness of stuff. Like the business did go to number 1 for our little area, right? But I did have a nice car. I did have a great girl on my side. The body was looking pretty good, right? But this was the challenge. I got to the top of my version of Success Mountain, and there was no more top to climb. And that's at that point where I was like, well, where do I go? Because I'm exhausted and I still don't feel enough. I might as well just jump off the other side. So it was, what some people call the dark night of the soul. And it was, to be honest now, like, it's the moment I'm most grateful for.
Yeah.
Right? Because if that doesn't happen, I'm not here, like, with you now.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Yeah, and again, it's a lot of people I've sat across and the interview from have said the same thing, and people I know and have been friends with and spent a lot of time with. And the sad thing for me is that not only did I not recognize that, it's that if I had recognized it, you feel guilt that as someone that was close to you, that I didn't have the opportunity to support you with that.
Yeah. Well, we're incredibly amazing at putting on a facade, of hiding it. You wouldn't have had any idea. Most people thought I was happy, I was loving life, I was going out like sometimes 5 times a week, but that's where we start to see this accumulation, right, of an absence of sleep, multiple hours in the gym, nights out with the boys, having a few too many shandies, and late nights, it starts to catch up.
I actually knew you were destined for a lot more than what you were, the way you were living your life. I knew there was always, from the day I met you, I knew there was this really deep sense of kindness for others and empathy and love to everyone around you. And that was never compromised. So to see you putting all those hours into a business and partying hard and training, and I could see I could see the reasons, I could see you were chasing what you saw as your dream life. But I knew there was probably going to be a point where that would stop. It had to.
Yeah.
It had to. And I knew, I think we spoke when I was doing the nutrition stuff, and you were just starting to dabble in the coaching.
Yeah.
And it was, and then you just went. So what was the turning point? Where did the shift, if you can remember, like the clear defining moment that was the starting point to the journey?
To be honest, it was kind of as I had that, deepest, darkest moment of, should I leave the world again? Or is there another way? And, for me, questions are the steering wheel to where the mind places attention. This is something that I learned as I got into the industry. But at the time, I didn't really know that. I just feel like I was looked after in a way that, I didn't know at the time, because I thought money was going to be the solution to all of my problems. I'm blessed to speak with millionaires and billionaires. They're some of the unhappiest people I know, but I didn't know that at the time. So I kind of got into personal growth from a business mindset standpoint. I was like, well, if I can figure out like this, like ultimate strategy, then I'll make enough money and then all my problems go away. Makes sense, right? So I got kind of hoodwinked into this deeper work because my first mentor was a guy called Peter Sage. And he's an amazing coach, helps entrepreneurs, but he has a real spiritual undercurrent to his teachings that is rooted in psychology. Right. So I kind of started to learn that, and I quickly realized I wasn't interested in like the strategy and tactics of business. Like we can learn that off Google or now ChatGPT, so it's they're all available. But what really interested me from his work was this deeper truth that I didn't know was truth from like my ego's level, but on a soul-based level. When I heard it, there was just a knowingness that this is it. And that was a beautiful entry into this journey now.
Nice. So when was that?
Gosh, I kind of hit that low point about 29. So I would have said like still
2 years ago.
Yeah. 1 week ago. Thank you. I'll take that.
You don't look any older.
Thank you, mate. I'll pay you later. Yeah, so it was, I'd say still 29. I was watching, ironically, like a Tony Robbins YouTube video. I think that's everyone's like entry into personal growth. Got to love a bit of Tony. And YouTube had just started doing this autoplay, where it goes on to the next song, almost like auto DJ. That was wild in those times. But it went on to Pete. I had no idea who Pete Sage. And I just watched him like a part of a video. I was like, who's this guy? Right. I just come back from doing a check-in and I'm like, who's this? Like, where's Tony gone? I let it run. And he just said a few things that just hit me and it knocked my socks off. And I was like, who's this guy? And so from there, it was, I just started studying his stuff. I helped out at some events. Blessed to call him a friend. If I'm in Tenerife, I try my best to get in contact and hang out. So, beautiful person.
Now, How does it feel to be that guy to so many people, where they hear you say a few things, you're like, I can't unhear that, but Gary's that guy.
Yeah, gosh, this is really coming about more in recent years, and it still kind of surprises me.
You're smashing it.
Yeah, well, I'm sharing what I know, and I love that it's having an impact. But
Yeah.
heard that video from like Harry and your podcast with him. I kind of found that in the morning, and I just cried.
Sorry, mate.
Yeah, it got me off to the most beautiful start for the day, because it's something that perhaps I don't acknowledge enough, is the impact that I can sometimes have. I like to say it's not even me doing it, but that's a deeper conversation. But
I'd debate that.
yeah.
I would debate it. And I've had the gift of knowing a lot of people that have supported me and helped me to crawl my way out of the hole. And it definitely started with that coffee. And I don't know what drew me to reach out to you, because we'd had a catch up on the cards for years. Like, it was one of those things, should we catch up? Yeah, that'd be good, that'd be good, that'd be good. But then at the place I found myself at my 40th birthday, where I was at rock bottom, absolute burnout, absolute, just doing everything, looking back, in the wrong way to mask and cover up the feelings I had when I slowed down, as a result of many things that I just didn't process in the right way through my occupation and through my personal life, through my 30s, through my early 30s especially, which then meant I led many years after that just covering it up, just working every hour, to the point where I became very unhappy. And we met for a coffee. And I didn't realize when we met for the coffee that actually it was going to be such a deep and significant moment and conversation, because I think the first part of the conversation consisted of me pouring my heart out. Then there was a pause. And then the thing which I've written down here, which I love looking back, and I want to know the reason for it, as you said, you asked for my permission, because as friends, like, the obvious thing would be just to go straight in with, this is what I think, these are your answers. But you said, is it okay if I say what I think? So firstly, like, what is the reasoning behind putting the permission and that onus back on the listener of, you want me now to give you my opinion? What's the thought behind that?
I think it's a sense of acknowledging that other being, right? It's just like, in the same way, I don't just kind of like, I came around, I'm in your house. I didn't just like come through the front door and start messing around with your furniture.
Nice.
Right?
Makes sense.
So in the same way, like, if I'm going to have an impact on your inner world, right, kind of re-architecting that, then it's polite to ring the doorbell, and more than anything, what we really crave is just to be seen, heard, and held, right? It doesn't have to be physically, although that's quite nice, but holding a space for someone. So to ask, do you mind if I share like an opinion or a perspective, is a way that I'm saying to you, do you want some feedback, or do you just want to be heard?
I think as well, sometimes when you share something like I did, if you'd have gone straight back into your thoughts and advice, sometimes you haven't, like, as where I was, put myself in a position to listening. I'm thinking, oh, bloody, what did I just say? And it's similar to when I have conversations with someone. Sometimes you can get asked to do something, you don't listen. So that thing of, are you ready now for me to give you some advice, almost goes, listen up, someone's going to give you some life-changing advice, which I did.
Right.
And I remember sitting there engrossed in everything you said. Yeah, do you remember the conversation? And did you know at the time how significant that was for me?
I can't say I knew how significant that would be, but what I could see was significant for you and the changes that you were going through, right? As you were shifting out of kind of focusing on you to focusing on others, starting to learn the power of contribution, adding value to others, putting focus towards them and how you can help. Once that starts to take a hold, it's
no looking back.
There isn't, because it feels, it's, of course, love includes us and we want to look after us. But for me, it's always felt way better to put a smile on someone else's face than on my own, But I kind of look after both now because that's honoring me. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I could see that shift within you. And in the same way you gave me that beautiful reflection that you could see that there was something greater perhaps that I was going to do in this world, right? Then I've had the same feeling about you. right? There was just so much available to Olly, but not in that version of him. Same for Gary, there wasn't available to him what is now because of the constriction, the constraints of fundamentally how our subconscious is programmed.
I used an analogy the other day with someone else where at that point, it felt like I opened my eyes and what I could see was I was underneath a mound of rubble, but I could just see what was the other side. But I knew that all of these things that prevented me from being that person were in my way. And it was going to take a lot of work to systematically start removing the rubble in the way, bit by bit, properly, not just temporarily, the point where it's like you're putting the rubble there, but then it slides back down again and joins the pile. Like drop kick that rubble so that it's no longer part of your life.
Yeah.
And then you're clear. And now look how beautiful life is.
Yeah, I love the analogy, right? Because the reason I shared before about I'm in the industry of personal undevelopment, most people are like, what the hell? Because most people, I'm not putting anyone down because there's stages to this work. I was initially like a traditional personal development coach. But what I realized as I got deeper into the work is that it's not like a solution-based process. Like I'm not wanting to improve that identity. I'm actually wanting to dissolve it. And your analogy speaks perfectly into that, because as we start to remove what I call virus programming that we've accidentally downloaded, right, through Earth and Earth School and everybody that's already here, then what we come back to is the light, this true essence of ours. And it might sound a bit poetic, but in the absence of all of our fears, our limitations, mental programming, these virus codes, is this sense of love. It is joy. It is peace. It's this sense of freedom, of abundance. It's all there, joy. But in the absence of this code that says, I'm not something. And when we know what that is, then we can, as you say, drop kick it. I probably would be a bit more gentle.
Yeah. No, it's so true. And it was quite amusing, actually, when after making these realizations, I took my daughter to watch the film Inside Out, which is a child version of that very thing. And I remember coming out of the cinema more buzzing than my daughter. Did you understand what that bit meant? That meant that if you get rid of the rubble, then joy can come back and share a bit of the driving as well. So yeah, Dad, I get it. No, but honestly,
it doesn't matter. I've got it.
It's like, can we go watch it again? Because it's so clever. So clever.
Really beautiful, yeah.
Yeah. But it just grasps that concept and explains it to children on their level of understanding, which is we underestimate how much a child can understand adult issues.
Yeah.
In some ways, they're probably better at being adults than adults.
They are, and because they're just way more connected. There's less programming in the way. And then sadly, based on this experience that we're all in, we accumulate all of that programming, the hurts, the experiences that then mold this identity that we misidentify as. So yeah, they're way more connected. But, one of the most beautiful realizations I ever had is that everybody is just children in adults' bodies. And that's not to put anyone down, but like I was in the supermarket for the American folk, the grocery store. And they never understand what I mean when I say supermarket. So there was just this grown man just having a full-on temper tantrum, like a child. And it was like, there's no judgment there. I could really get just how like frustrated, how upset he was. Goodness knows what had happened in his day that someone not stocking his favorite whatever had got him all stressed out. But the reason why I share it is because I can view everybody else, including myself, right, as a child in an adult's body. Sometimes it allows for so much love, compassion, understanding, and it totally changes how I interact with people. Because if that was truly a child, I just want to help them. I wouldn't want to judge them. I wouldn't want to correct them. I wouldn't want to fix them. So yeah, our programming generally doesn't get upgraded, from when we're little until you do this work, and then things really start to shift.
Would you like a drink of water? Would you like anything?
I'm good.
You're good.
I've got my coconut water. I've got my still water. I'm all water.
It's annoying because
My last name apparently as well.
That was it. So there was a, but after I spoke and offloaded my thoughts and feelings to you in that coffee, the reflection you gave me was that imagine a car operating flat out in the fast lane, 90 miles an hour, which is way above the speed limits. That's not something that I would condone.
Of course not.
But the wheels are starting to fall off. It hasn't been serviced and you're just driving it flat out. And then the wheel comes off and you continue to drive, and then lo and behold, and it just helped me to understand actually it's so true, because I've been working every hour I possibly can. I've been training, I've been stressed, I've been ignoring the stress, just work. And then it's shown up in this way where I'm getting overly anxious about anything. Like my resilience was at an all-time low, because the smallest thing would come along, which looking back now were such trivial things, but they were just going at each and every time that something else would come along, it would just break me. And it would mean that my sleep was non-existent. I would wake up, my gut health was off. I felt myself, I was just crying all the time, like literally just slowing down. And I'd be sat down here and just so worried about whatever it was I'd worked myself up about, to the point of just a mess. So that car analogy is something I reflect back on all the time.